The holographic display at the Galactic Combat Academy flickered to life, projecting the day's lesson parameters across the training arena. Instructor Vexthor, a towering Krelnari with forearms and chitinous armor, surveyed the assembled cadets with his multifaceted eyes. "Energy weapons only," he announced, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. "Today we practice close-quarters plasma combat. Physical projectiles are primitive. Physical melee weapons are archaic. Any species that has achieved spaceflight has moved beyond such barbarism." The 47 cadets from 23 different species nodded in agreement, checking their plasma rifles and photon blades. All except one. Cadet Marcus Webb stood at the back of the formation, his hand resting on something at his hip that definitely wasn't regulation. The human had been an oddity since arriving at the Academy 3 cycles ago. His species was new to the galactic community, having only achieved faster-than-light travel 2 decades prior. They were curiosities, bipedal, bilaterally symmetrical, and disturbingly adaptable. "Cadet Webb," Vexthor's voice carried across the arena. "Why are you not drawing your assigned photon blade?" Marcus stepped forward, and the other cadets instinctively moved aside. There was something about humans that made other species uncomfortable. Perhaps it was their forward-facing eyes, the mark of a predator. Perhaps it was the way they smiled, baring their teeth in what they claimed was friendliness. "With respect, instructor," Marcus said calmly, "I'd like to propose an alternative demonstration." Vexthor's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement or irritation. "The parameters are clear. Energy weapons only." "I understand, sir, but I think there's value in understanding why some civilizations moved beyond physical weapons." Marcus's hand moved to his hip, and why one civilization didn't. Before Vexthor could object, Marcus drew. The sword sang as it left its sheath, a sound that sent an inexplicable chill through the assembled aliens. It was roughly a meter long, slightly curved, with a single edge that caught the arena's artificial lighting and seemed to drink it in. The blade had a strange pattern rippling across its surface like waves frozen in steel. "What is that?" whispered Cadet Zelix, a crystalline phosphine who had never seen anything like it. "It's called a katana," Marcus said, holding the weapon with both hands in a ready stance that looked deceptively relaxed. "This particular one is 847 years old. Earth years, that is. It was forged by a master swordsmith named Masamune during what we call the Kamakura period." Vexthor's translator struggled with the proper nouns. "Cadet Webb, this is highly irregular." "That weapon predates your civilization?" Marcus finished. "Yes, sir, it does." A shocked silence fell over the arena. The Krelnari had only achieved spaceflight 600 years ago. Most of the species present had been spacefaring for less than a millennium. "Impossible," said Cadet Throne, a Vaxillian whose species prided themselves on their ancient heritage of 1,200 years in space. "No species maintained such primitive technology for that long. It's inefficient, impractical." Marcus smiled, that unsettling human expression. "You're right. It is impractical. A plasma rifle can kill from a kilometer away. This?" He gestured with the blade. "This requires me to be within arm's reach of my enemy. It requires years of training to master. It requires strength, speed, precision, and timing that no computer can replicate." He began to move, and the aliens watched in fascination as the human performed what he called kata, a series of practiced movements that flowed like water. The blade cut through the air with whistling precision, each motion purposeful, each transition seamless. "We humans," Marcus continued, still moving through his forms, "spent roughly 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other with sharpened metal. Swords, spears, axes, daggers. We built entire philosophies around them, codes of honor, ways of life." He stopped. The blade held perfectly still despite the complex movement that had preceded it. "When we invented gunpowder weapons, we didn't abandon the sword. When we invented lasers and plasma weapons, we still taught swordsmanship. Do you know why?" No one answered. Vexthor found himself genuinely curious, a rare feeling for an instructor who had seen thousands of cadets over the decades. "Because," Marcus said softly, "the sword teaches something that no energy weapon can. It teaches you that violence has a cost, that taking a life requires you to be close enough to see their eyes, to smell their fear, to feel the weight of what you're doing." He looked around the arena at the assembled aliens. You species achieved spaceflight and immediately developed energy weapons because you were smart enough to skip the intermediate steps. You went from spears to plasma rifles in a few centuries. You never had to spend millennia learning that warfare isn't just about efficiency. It's about understanding the weight of the choice to fight. Marcus sheathed the katana in one fluid motion. The click of blade meeting scabbard echoed in the silent arena. Every human soldier, no matter how advanced our weapons become, spends time learning to fight with their hands, with knives, with swords, not because it's practical, but because it reminds us what we're capable of. It keeps us connected to 10,000 years of warriors who came before us. It makes us think twice before pulling a trigger because we know, intimately, physically, what violence really means. Vexathor stared at the human for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he clicked in approval. "Demonstrate," he said. "Show us what your ancient weapon can do against modern warfare." Marcus bowed slightly, another strange human gesture. "With pleasure, instructor." He drew the sword again, and this time there was no curiosity in the alien's eyes. There was something else, something that made them uncomfortable in a way they couldn't quite name. They were looking at a predator who had spent 10,000 years learning to hunt, and the lesson had just begun.